Very good morning, everyone. My name is Ling, and I'm from MetaComp. Now, in 2020, when I was still in a quasi-government organization, I remember that I met a group of investors. They were absolutely bullish about the Web3 as well as DeFi, the promise of the blockchain technology and how it will revolutionize the entire industry. Then in 2021, they came back and said, metaverse is the next thing. And it was full of confidence. But then in 2022, the unfortunate incidents involving Luna, Terra, and then FTX, unfortunately, would have affected a lot of people's confidence and the impression of the technology and Web3. I remember in the wake of the FTX incident, it was a high-profile incident, the Singapore Parliament was talking about it. And several MPs questioned then DPM as well as Minister for Finance about Temasik's investment in FTX. Now, why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because there is a lot of concerns about Web3, and unfortunately, linked to that is the fundamental technology itself, which is unfortunate. Ladies and gentlemen, I would say that currently we are here in TOKEN2049. We are all believers. But out there, I would dare postulate that there is a trust deficit that we need to address, and hence the dilemma that I would like to talk about today. Blockchain, as we all know here, was originally invented or created to disintermediate the process, the actors involved, so that they can achieve greater efficiencies, higher cost savings, but also to decentralize so that we are no longer just reliant on centralized nodes or people. We can democratize access. More people can be part of that action. And so in essence, it is to tamper-proof an untrusted environment so that people can transact and interact with greater confidence. However, as time passes, I think we can observe by now that the technology on its own itself might have facilitated that sense of confidence, that trust, to a certain extent, but on its own, it's insufficient. I highlighted some of the higher profile incidents earlier when I started sharing, coming on stage. But there are also other incidents, for example, scams, money laundering. These are very unfortunate incidents that are happening. People lost their life savings, and this will impact their confidence in Web3, in what we are able to offer. For me, I have come across several of these cases, and it is heartbreaking. So, what can we do to rebuild the trust, to rehabilitate Web3, if I can put it that way? How can we restore the trust in this space so that for the wonderful promises that Web3 could bring can come to fruition? So I would like to therefore take this chance to talk about how we can bridge between technology and human confidence. Now, if I can posit, I think there are three key pillars of trust that we could look at, or three key sources of trust that we need to build. Number one, institutional trust. Number two, regulatory trust. And number three, industry trust. Allow me to say a bit more. First, on institutional trust. Well, it may sound ironical that when we first talk about blockchain and Web3, we wanted to disintermediate. We want to remove some of these so-called centralized third-party nodes to validate and verify. But if anything that we have observed by now, over the past few years, that technology alone, while it has built up some trust, facilitated that to some extent, but it is not enough. We need to have nodes of trust, such as the more traditional financial institutions, such as banks, to vouch, to validate and vouch for the integrity of the system. And this is actually happening. In 2022, Bain published a report, and in the report, in that article, they also talk about a report that they did. They surveyed high-level senior banking executives as well as Web3 company CEOs. And out of that survey report, 60% of the bankers as well as 80% of the Web3 CEOs believe that Web3 will be able to revolutionize the financial system and take over many of the functions that banks could do. But in the same breath, they will also mention that they believe that for people to have greater trust, to want to make use of the services involved, they would like to interface with institutions such as the banks. And even for crypto native, this Web3 firm, the CEO who was interviewed in that same report, that many of the customers, including those who are savvy with digital assets, felt that they want to interface with the bank, to have the bank to be able to validate the smart contract that is being used to enable the Web3, the blockchain. Banks, institutions have got their strength. I think we need to acknowledge that. They have many years of experience building up their KYC, KYT, and they have earned the trust of customers. And they are also moving into the space. At MetaComp, we have also observed this, so our observation corroborates this. We see that there are more financial institutions and even the more traditional fintechs coming in to explore the world of Web3. Through our conversations, especially with the banks, you can see a wide range of them getting involved, from just having internal conversation to cautiously experimenting with projects, to even altering their internal processes and structures to embrace this change. Some of the other fintech organizations that I've met with also are exploring this. And more recently, in the news, we know that Swift is also looking at how they can make transactions between traditional and digital assets more interoperable. So what this means for us is that we might have to start looking at some of these traditional institutions not as competitors, but collaborators. Some form of co-opetition may be useful in helping to rebuild the trust that we need for the Web3 industry to continue to develop. Now allow me to move on to the second pillar, which is regulatory trust. I think many of our fellow friends and industry peers sometimes would have certain concerns or feel a bit jittery when we talk about regulations. Now, earlier, as I mentioned, as more traditional institutions, especially like the banks, coming into the Web3 space, I think one can expect that adoption will start to increase. And once adoption increases, regulators will now be more motivated to also want to come into the space to look at what's happening and see what they can do. Ultimately, regulators want to be able to protect the retail customers, the masses. I think this is something that we can understand. But at the same time, regulators can play an enabling role in terms of the industry development. So with regulators coming in a bigger way, we can expect in more jurisdictions as well, they will cover a wide range of areas, from your protocol standards, to your KYC, KYT requirements, to how a digital asset should be categorized or treated, to even the marketing and promotion of such products and services. It will be a full range. But at the same time, they could play their enabling role. But like how? For example, just to illustrate, licensing regime. It is onerous, but it has its merits. Because when there is a clearly articulated licensing regime, they set out what can or cannot be done, or at least what must not be done. And for companies or players who are able to meet these criteria, it is a mark of trust that it gives to the customers to say that at least this company, its services, its products would have met a certain minimum standard. So it helps to increase that sense of confidence and that trust that may be needed to promote greater development of the industry. And so I think it is important for regulators to engage with industry players a lot more to understand what is happening, what are some of the pitfalls, and how we can work together to enable the development of the industry. And likewise, for industry players like us to respond and be upfront and be more open to share with regulators to promote that understanding. Because when regulators, if they operate in vacuum, if they do not understand what is happening or what this is all about, they will tend to take a conservative, the safest approach, and that would always be a no. That's not what we want. Coming to the third pillar, which is the industry trust. This is where we all come in. As industry players, we are right at the forefront. We know what is the latest development, what are some of the gaps that we need to fill, so on and so forth. And so for us, we can come together, we are able to put forth common standards. Not only are we able to craft it, we are able to better it, and then we share it. Common standards are useful because it makes things more interoperable, more consistent, more predictable, verifiable. That's just part of it. And of course, for each and every one of us, we represent a node in the ecosystem, in the whole chain of activities. And if each and every one of us hold ourselves to high standards of integrity, transparency, code of conduct, for example, then we will be able to ensure that the entire space, the ecosystem, has got high integrity as well, that is secure and safe. And over time, that reputation will grow, and we can help, in turn, to build confidence. But more than that, we can come together as a ground-up allies to make this work. I don't think we can ever guarantee that there will not be any bad actors out there. But if enough of us are committed to this cause, committed to ensuring compliance, clean, Web3, I think with critical mass, we will be a formidable movement, a formidable impact for the rest of the industry. And in turn, outside of the Web3 community, we will be able to convince more people about the merits of what we are able to offer. Then this is where I would like to talk about MetaComp. MetaComp, as what we have when we were first founded, we want to be the compass of the industry. We want to do what is right and help to contribute to the development of the industry. And so we believe in having a Web3 with a purpose. So to do so, obviously, over the past years since our founding in 2018, we've had our fair share of learning journey. And through all this journey, we have gained very precious experiences and learned from some of the pitfalls and some of the little stories that we have gained over time. And one thing that we realize is that compliance is important in building up the confidence that our clients have with us, and of course, with the regulators, because we are a MAS licensed financial institution here in Singapore. So whether it's from the onboarding, the KYC, to the type of products and services that we design, we believe in compliance by design. And because of the experiences that we have gained over time, we came up with something that I thought would be useful to share. And that is Wallet Safe. Now, this is not a product or service that we proactively market, but I just want to share this as an example of what we believe in terms of Web3 with a purpose. Now, as we go into this business, as we interact with more clients, as we build up that experience, we realize that it is very important that we keep every node clean as possible. And for wallets, It's something that we all need in order to transact on-chain. And so for WalletSafe, we decided to put together this service, drawing on different databases so that we can screen the wallets that we transact with. It's not only to protect ourselves, but to also protect the customers yourselves. And we are availing this not just to our own customers, but also to the general public as well. So if anyone is interested, you can leverage this. Now for this, what we want to do is to ensure that people have the tool to be empowered to screen wallets before they start the transaction, before, just in case, some tainted tokens get into your wallet and taint the rest. And here, it's not just as a matter of protecting the transactions, but also in the hope of building up an intuition, a form of habit and intuition, so that everyone is mindful of what it means to transact in a safe and clean manner. So this is the little bit that we wanted to do to contribute to this bigger purpose, bigger cause. Now for MetaComp, what we do is that we want to bridge traditional finance with the digital asset side, with the digital financing side, or in short, crypto finance. But at the same time, we also want to do our part to bridge between the technology as well as human confidence. For us, as a licensed entity in Singapore, we want to do our part. Singapore has done a lot to ensure that this is a vibrant ecosystem where fintech players, where technologies, where anyone who believes in the digital future can thrive. We have the digital infrastructure, we have the policies, we have the environment. We're interoperable within the region and beyond. And so for us as a licensed entity here in Singapore, we want to be able to plug in to what is being offered to us. We want to be able to work with our partners and friends to create this safe, clean environment where everyone has the confidence to transact and interact in. We want to be able to inspire confidence in the broader community out there to know that it is safe, it is fun, it is exciting, many possibilities in Web3. And so this is why we are on a mission to build a Web3 with a purpose. And so with that, I thought that we could therefore call to action, rally all our industry players here to also join us in this movement, do our part to ensure that for each of us as a node in the ecosystem, that we promote a clean Web3. And with that, thank you for your time. And let me also play a short video on what MetaComp is all about, if you indulge me. Thank you, everyone.